You've got the idea, you've even made a little money, and now you're wondering, is this a real business? Do I need an LLC or a contract or a whole legal team? If you've ever felt that pull to start something of your own, but immediately got overwhelmed by the what ifs and the what do I even do firsts, today's episode is for you. Amber Gilormo, attorney and mom of 5, is back, and this time we're talking about the legal side of starting a business as a mom, from when to make it official to how to protect your family without overcomplicating things. This episode is packed with real talk and practical tips. This is one that you'll want to take notes for. My name is Chrissy Bold. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 2 little boys, and this is Mom's Guide to Finding Herself. You know I am all about helping moms reconnect with who they are outside of motherhood, and for a lot of us, that starts with following those little creative sparks. Maybe it's baking or crafting or finally saying yes to that business idea that just won't leave you alone. But once that spark turns into an actual thing, we freeze because suddenly it's not just a hobby anymore, it's a business, and that gets really intimidating really fast. That's why I invited Amber Gilormo back for another episode. She's not only a mom of 5, but also an attorney and the founder of The Boutique Lawyer, where she helps women protect their peace and their profits with simple, approachable legal tools. Amber breaks down what you actually need to do legally when starting a business, what matters right away, what can wait, and how to make sure your personal life stays protected. If you've been feeling stuck in the "is this even legit" phase, you are not alone and you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Amber, thank you so much for coming back today. I'm so excited to learn about your expertise in the fields that you work in with the moms that you work with and how you can help our audience find out who they are.
I love a mom with a side hustle and a mom trying to do everything, so I'm so excited to chat about this topic.
Amazing. So a lot of moms, when they're trying to figure out their thing, they maybe start as a hobby. Like, I don't know, maybe they're crocheting and they think, you know what, maybe I can start selling this. And before you know it, it's a business. But we get stuck in the what ifs or the what should I do's and the big scary, I don't know how to make this into a business. What are the things that you actually legally should be doing to look out for yourself before you just start dabbling?
Yeah, you know why I love moms who start businesses? It's because, um, in my experience, I generally work with almost exclusively women, and a big majority of them are moms. They are we are very risk averse people, which makes us a little more mindful
Yeah.
when we get started doing something that we want to do it in a way like we're doing it right, quote unquote, right. And we don't want to like expose our homes and our families to other stressors. We want this to be like revenue generating and we enjoy doing it, but we don't want to have like all these other problems that can come along with like starting a business, for example, or making money off of a hobby. And that's like really great because you approach it a little more intentionally. But on the flip side, it like can actually prevent you from doing the thing that you're capable of doing because you are so risk averse. So one of the things I love to do is like help women through that process.
Mm. That's amazing because we do have those mindsets and then they stop us. They stop us dead in our tracks and then our dreams just live in our heads. So
Yeah.
tell me more about what your practice actually is and what do you do with your work?
So I'm a small business lawyer for online businesses, creative service providers, makers, founders. I help them start on a solid legal foundation. And then I tell all of my clients this, but every move you make in business, there is a corresponding legal step you need to take to protect you. And so I just support them on that journey. When we are helping like new businesses, it's interesting because everybody has very similar questions and they kind of surround like the whole, do I need a LLC? Do I need a legal entity? Do I need a license to do this? Do I need, just these very basic questions, which are incredibly important to ask and to have answered correctly for you.
Yeah.
But so many businesses start just like an individual doing something. That's actually what's called a sole proprietorship. Like that's a real entity. You don't have to have like all the bells and whistles legally to get started. And in fact, like you really should make sure that your idea is something that you can make money off of before you go and spend, thousands of dollars protecting it.
Yeah.
Um, I just try to provide people like super practical information so that they can apply it to like the real life business that they're building.
So when in the process should you start doing those things? Like, and I guess the second question is like, what are the things? Like, is it when you start making money? Is it when you start making significant money? Is it like where in the journey do we start making moves?
So I moved to North Idaho recently, last year, like last summer. And my favorite thing about this area is there are so many small businesses. Like, I've never seen so many farm stands in my life. Literally, we have a group for my church where, like, there's a buy sell trade group, and people are making like necklaces, earrings, quilts,
Awesome.
crocheting. Like, they're doing all the things and they're making money off of it. A lot of the women do not have, like, legal entities. They're just selling locally. However, there are, like, a few that have realized, like, "Hey, I can sell this beyond just, like, my local community," and they've
Mm,
turned it into a business. Like, they have an LLC formed. They have, whether if they're doing, like, farm stands, sometimes you need a license to do that, like cottage bakery. Just depending on what it is. I think the answer to your question isn't revenue based, it's goal based. So if
mm,
your goal is to just make a couple $100 a month to pay, like, the utilities, like, you wanna take that off your family's plate, which is totally reasonable, and, like, a couple $100 a month, like, you can invest that in a high yield savings account, like, you can do
yeah.
so much with a few $100 a month, like, that's a good goal. If that's your goal, do you really need to go through $1,000 of, like, legal setup, thousands of dollars of legal setup for that particular thing? I It's up to you. Like, it's
Yeah.
not really the end all be all for me, like, as a lawyer. If your goal is to sell even to your local regional community,
Mhm.
citywide, countywide, then I would say, yeah, you're opening up your business to more individuals, like, you're expanding your risk level. So if as your, like, eyeballs get more eyeballs on your offers and what you're selling, then it becomes a bigger priority for you to form an at least at minimum, like a legal entity that separates your personal assets and earning power from your business's debts and responsibilities. And that's normally done through like a limited liability company or called an LLC formation.
That's so interesting that it's about the eyeballs, about the people that are in there. So what are the risks if we choose to like, I'm assuming that a lot of people who are putting themselves on Instagram and maybe selling just here and there, like, you don't know how many eyeballs you have. That sounds like it's a big risk. Like, what are the risks?
Yeah. So if you're marketing on social media, for example, you're right. Like you have infinite possibilities, right? We're marketing like globally, but more often than not, what's is interesting about like the Instagram algorithm, it is very location based. So it will serve your content to people in your region first, and then if they interact, it goes wider than that. And like it's one of the factors of the algorithm. And I am a testament to this. I had so many clients in the Southeast when I lived there, like in Atlanta and surrounding Southeast and I never like met them, but they found me on Instagram. And
Yeah.
now that I've moved to, like, the inland Pacific Northwest, I have so many people who are in Washington, like,
Oh,
Seattle reaching out
interesting.
to me. Yeah, and so I'm like, "Okay, this is part of the Instagram algorithm lore that I
Uh-huh.
believe." It's like
Yes.
the location based, just because 'cause I've experienced this, at least for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, as you get more people looking at your services and looking at the things that you're, like, trying to sell, like, whether it's something you made or something you can do, if you interact with people, like if you are like, for example, a hairstylist, if you do nails, you absolutely need to get an LLC, like even if you're just doing it locally, because you have the nature of your, offer can impact people, like, if you cut somebody's hand, they're gonna get upset about it, right?
Yeah.
We don't want
Yeah.
them to, like, sue you for something individually. Like, we want our business's responsibilities to be our
Yeah.
business's liabilities. Like, we want
Yeah.
it to be just on the business, not on, like, the money we have as a family in our savings account, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how you separate them out is by that, like, legal entity. And then, of course, you have to maintain the entity. So make sure that you just pay yourself and your business stuff out of your business account and not
Yeah.
out of, your personal account and vice versa. We don't want to mix the funds.
That sounds tricky because we're, like, shopping on Amazon and we're doing all the things, and what credit card does it come from? But it's definitely an important thing to keep in mind. Now, we could go on forever about all of the layers of things that we could do. I know that you sell products that help people protect themselves through their website creation and all of the things that go into that and their trademarks and all of the other pieces. Now, can we talk about like a hierarchy of what's like a must do, what's like a nice to do, and like when you should think about it?
Yeah, it's definitely an immediate needs versus future needs kind of schema when you look at it and you decide, what do I do first? And the if I was going to say my most asked question is where do I start? And to that point, that's just exactly what you asked. You start with the immediate like point of like interaction between you and your customer or your client. So, if I have a first and foremost, get a legal entity first. They're relatively inexpensive and you can set it up yourself. Like most, you can go to your Secretary of State's website and do most in most states, and you can file it online. There's a handful of states where you still have to do like paper filings, but most of them you can do it online and it's relatively inexpensive. There are some
And you mean an
exceptions.
LLC by that, right?
Correct, like, form
Okay.
your limited liability company to insulate, your personal from your debt, businesses your personal excuse me, to insulate your personal assets from your business's responsibilities, that the limited liability company is, like, one of the best ways to go about it, and it's relatively quick, relatively inexpensive in terms of, like, cost. It can be a couple $100. In Georgia, I think last time I checked, it was, like, $50 to file, and then you have renewal fees. So there are some exceptions like California, that's a little more pricey. With California, they have special rules, but, it's a really great step. And then beyond that, if you interact with people, you need to protect that customer facing point of contact with your business first. So that normally looks like contracts. So it can look like putting terms of purchase online if somebody is buying something through your like Etsy store. Which, by the way, Etsy's policies protect Etsy, and we need our own policies as people selling things to protect us.
Good
Um,
to know, because that feels very official having an Etsy store. It feels like you're protected in a lot of
it
ways.
does, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna like send people marketing emails, we still have to have our own like privacy policy and make sure that we're doing following all the rules still for us.
Yeah.
So for like your customer facing stuff is really important. And then for long term like growth and business protection, that's where those like intellectual property protections come into play, like trademarks, copyrights, because it protects I the content that you're creating and your brand identifiers. So it's just incredibly important. Like as if you want to keep doing this, you want to keep growing it. That's when you look towards those kind of like future proofing, asset building things like trademarks and copyrights.
Wow. Okay. So lots of layers, but we can start chipping away at them one at a time. Now, one thing that I know firsthand that keeps people from filing an LLC is making their address public. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. Nobody wants that from you. With
Right.
with as invasive and as little privacy as we have these days, because you can when you Google a business, like you absolutely don't want your home address popping up.
Right.
Um, so one of the easiest ways to go about this is in depending on your state, because some states will have different rules for this. You can create like a virtual office somewhere.
Okay.
Um, for example, I can go and I can like to UPS, and I can get like a,
Okay.
a physical mailing address, and sometimes you can use that depending on your state. And that's like a really affordable way to go about it. And then there's like virtual co-working spaces, virtual
Mm,
offices you can buy, or you can go the route of like a registered agent. A registered agent is somebody who accepts like mail on your behalf, and that is the
mm,
publicly facing address um, for your business and your legal entity when you do your filing. And those services are really can be really affordable. Like there's several like national companies who do that. So you have options. Like you don't
yeah.
have to use your home address. And in fact, you shouldn't. So if you can like PO box it, and then sometimes when you're filling out like LLC formations, they'll have like they call it domicile, and that's for your home address. And so that can
Right.
be separate, and it's not that part normally isn't like the public side, but your business has to have like some way to receive mail. But that's not always accurate for each state. Like, so the safest thing, and I think the safest like piece of like legal tip to take would be look at a registered agent if you're worried
Mm.
about having your home address out there. They're relatively inexpensive. And that is something you can absolutely put on any filings you make with the state so that your like stuff is still confidential.
Such a great tip. Now, another thing you touched on with like the Etsy thing is when we join something that's already existing, like Etsy, or maybe like there's travel agents that you can join, like their agency, but you're still independent with them. So it's still like your side hustle, your small business. Where do liabilities lie when you're in this, like, when you feel protected by this umbrella? Like, do you need your own insurance? Do you need all these other pieces with it?
So with that, like Etsy is just one, but there's other marketplaces like Creative Market and that kind of stuff, right? So, like you said, when we sell on that, we do kind of feel like we're part of this larger company. Like we're still kind of safe. It's just a small thing,
Mhm.
it's a different like frame of mind. But at the end of the day, we are still a business doing business. So, one of the questions I was asked by a person who sells almost exclusively on Etsy, but she makes baby blankets, was like, what kind of warning labels do I need on my baby blankets? Right. Which is a wonderful question, and a question a lot of people don't ask, because if you go buy a baby blanket from Target, for
Right?
example, it's going to have a label on there that's like risk of suffocation, and it has other
Mm.
stuff on there. Right. And
Right.
all of these things to think about. So, my answer is that it just depends on where your business is located and what you sell. In terms of the protections that you need. Actually, a great opportunity and one of the best reasons to like schedule a consult with a lawyer who's licensed in like your state where you're doing business is
Mhm.
to get some of those questions answered. And most like lawyers who focus on online businesses and people selling in marketplaces, they can give you kind of like a to-do list that's tailored to your business. So that's one of the best uses of like if a small business is going to get started and they want to feel safe, scheduling that initial call can really help you like take a mental load off and say, this is my priority for me. Because for
Yep.
each business is pretty different, right? So we want to make sure we're tailoring it to like the business itself.
Okay, so here's a question that might be a little, like, picky, but I think we have to be picky when it's, like, lawyery stuff.
Yeah.
If you are working with a registered agent that's online and
Mhm.
it's, like, in a different state, where is your business being, like, what state's laws should you go to? What lawyer should you go to?
Okay. So with a registered agent, you have to register your business in a state. And normally it's going to be the state where you live because of like
Okay,
taxes. So your registered agent that you choose should have an office in your state. You don't want to pick a registered agent that doesn't. So you want your registered agent to have the office in your state. There's national companies. There's one that's top of mind. It's like Northwest Registered Agent or something like that. But
yeah, I've seen
yeah,
that one, yeah.
it's advertises everywhere. They have offices so many states. I think it's all of them. I'm not exactly sure about that, don't quote me.
Yeah,
But, like, they actually have a location where somebody's manning the desk. Like, they have somebody there who
okay,
can receive legal proceedings and mail on your behalf. So that's where you sign up. Now, the other side of that question is, like, if I'm selling online, like, and I'm selling to somebody who's located in California, but my business is registered in Texas, for
Yep.
example, like which laws do apply? Like what do I have to follow? And the answer is all of them. So both
Yeah.
of them. And
Yeah.
it's really important to understand your market, what you're doing, and how to comply with those rules.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm probably whispering like nightmares to moms, like trying to figure out all the interest, all the little
Yeah.
intricacies involved with starting a business. And that's why I think like don't let that piece stop you. Like find a lawyer. You can literally type in online business lawyer in
Yeah.
Google, or you can type in small business lawyer, right? We want somebody who's like has experience with the type of business we sell. And I promise if like the first three people you talk to don't feel like a good fit, there is a lawyer out there who's done something for you before, like for somebody just like you. And that can just take off such a huge weight off of, like, that mental load, like, "How do I figure all this out?" Like, somebody can actually, like, give you your to-do list, like, "This is what I would recommend for you." And that's the kind of, like, initial consult that can be really helpful to, like, get started.
Amazing. Now, how much do these consults usually cost?
It depends on the lawyer.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I can just speak, like, from my kind of frame of reference. I do have a lot of colleagues, like, other lawyers that who serve these exact kinds of businesses, and our hourly rates I've seen range anywhere from, like, $150 an hour to $500 an hour, so
Mhm.
it's kind of, like, in that range. Now, when we go outside of that and you're, like, a corporate client trying to reach, like, a more medium to large size like business lawyer who serves like companies those hourly rates.
Yeah.
Hourly rates can be for other like larger companies, it can be thousands of dollars an hour. So
Yeah.
a small business lawyer should be able to like schedule a consult for you for, a few $100s. I would say budget that. And I think it's a really good use of your like mental capacity, like whatever kind of what do you call it, bandwidth you have ready to like explore that option. That's a great place to start.
That's fantastic advice. Yeah, I agree. There's that you can't put a price on some things. Like the amount of time that you would be saving yourself from the Google rabbit hole and then the questions that you don't know how to answer. The last thing I want to bring up is the shortcuts, like the chat GPT of it all, or the Googling of the terms and conditions and the privacy policies and all of these things that you just want to copy and paste. Is there any shortcut we can take that's realistically legal?
Yeah. You know, what is that saying, like, when you're in school? Like, "No question is a bad question."
Right.
Was it what's it how is that the phrase?
Yeah, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Ask the question. So, I would never tell somebody not to go Google a question. Like, if you think of the question, go Google it. Go look it up on ChatGPT, see what it says.
Yeah,
I really think, especially with, like, the advances in generative AI tools like ChatGPT, it's a great place to start. I don't know if I'm doing my profession a disservice by saying that. I will not tell you to write a contract with it or write a legal brief with it. Of course not, because, like, lawyers have actually gotten fined, for
yeah. Yep.
using ChatGPT to write a legal brief, and it cited, like, fake cases. It just made a bunch of stuff up, but
Yeah.
it's a great place to start. Google has, like, their AI, too, like, their AI summary that pops up. It's just searching the web, and there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of legal blogs that it pulls from. So I think that that's a great place to start and ask the question too, especially if you're like, what kind of things do I need? Like you can ask ChatGPT that, and it can give you a framework. But I don't want to say like, don't rely 100% on that because ChatGPT can give you like a to-do list that's 2 miles long when you maybe just need like 5 to 10 steps. So
Yeah.
I think it's, very important to curate that, but start there. It's a great place to start. It can just asking those questions where a lot of people ignore them is a huge like and then we do in my business, in my line of work, we have a, like, contract template shop to get you started for, like,
Yeah.
specific, contracts you may need if you're offering goods or services for sale online, and there's others like me out there, but we are just, trying to make legal more accessible to people
Yeah.
getting started because there is such a high barrier to entry with legal protection. Like historically, it's always been a little more expensive and kind of hard to find a good fit. And so there's a big wave of new lawyers. And I wouldn't say I'm a new lawyer, but I'm certainly in the wave where we're trying to
Yeah.
create these resources that are like more accessible and easy to use and understand. So we are out there. We are trying to help you,
Yeah.
make it easier for you to get started and do so like protected.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you're giving the green light to moms to start dabbling, start practicing, use the free resources you can find out there just to get you started. But when you get to a point where you have more eyeballs on you, more liability out there, there are reasonably priced resources that can help you not only figure out what to do, but like copy and paste. Your templates are so easy to apply to your own business, your own website. And I feel totally protected by it because it was written by you, not by a robot that is pulling from who knows what.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for saying that. We worked really hard on it. So, that's kind of our job. So, thank you for saying that. It would be silly of me not to mention this. We have launched a free digital magazine that is made for entrepreneurs to help you get legally protected, and we release them in quarters. So the next one is coming out here in just like a couple weeks, and it's kind of been like from my desk to yours, just notes of things that you should take care of for the quarter from a legal perspective. And we kind of partner with different online experts, financial advisors, and we get tips from them and we stick them in there. And in this Q4 issue, there is a tax checklist of like when you should think about forming an S corp, and that's one of those big kind of like people kind of have heard of what an S corp is. You don't really know when you need
Yeah.
one, and so we partnered with somebody to kind of help us guide through that analysis. So it's exciting.
Sounds like
And it,
such an incredible resource for free.
yeah.
Yeah, that's mega amazing. Well, Amber, tell us where we can connect with you and learn more from you and about you.
Well, I am active on social media on one platform, Instagram, at the boutique lawyer. I love sharing tips and just, kind of funny videos about the things you should watch out for, things to do. And then, of course, at my website, theboutiquelawyer.com, we have all different kinds of resources for small and online business owners to get started and scale.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this information with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
If you learned something from this episode, go ahead and let me know in the comments or the reviews, or send me a DM over on Instagram at Mom Identity Project. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star rating. If you have a mom friend who's been thinking about starting a business, go ahead and share this episode with them to make their life a little bit easier. Now, what if motherhood came with actual performance reviews? Like you'd sit down with a clipboard and get scored on snack distribution and emotional regulation and how many times you said, because I said so. Well, in the next episode, I'm giving a totally biased, completely ridiculous mom report card. And yes, there are bonus awards involved. Until then, remember you are an amazing mom just the way you are.